Eve, look up!
It took God 6 days to create the world, but only 5 years for Korean developer Shift Up to turn the 2019 Project Eve reveal into this PS5 Stellar Blade exclusive we have today. Can a relatively new company take on the established masters in From Software, Capcom and Platinum Games for AAA action-packed Souls-like action? Let's suit up, ship out and crash land in this new Garden of Eden. Starting with the main menu, we have 3 modes, and from a player perspective, they are nigh on perfect. Each does what it states. Resolution mode focuses on the highest pixel counts. Performance mode targets the smoothest and highest performance. Finally, the best and default is the balance mode that aims to provide the best compromise of both. The sacrifices are small, with each mode offering close visual and settings parity. In comparison, the only noticed changes are depth of field and screen space reflections are of a slightly lower quality in performance mode, with the focal depth being shallower in balance and resolution mode. Additionally, the hair quality of Eve and other characters is also reduced, specifically in real-time cinematics, with performance being the lowest, using less strands and cards than resolution mode, with balanced in the middle. Aside from this, the biggest changes are frame time, resolution and thus texture sampling. Resolution mode is capped at 30 FPS and appears to target a full 3840 by 2160, with dynamic resolution scaling possible but not found. Then performance runs at 60 FPS but now targets 2560 by 1440. Again, DRS is possible, but no counts were found below this, and both modes used a spatial upscale, which could be Unreal Engine's own TAAU spatial pass or AMD's FSR1. This results in some instability in the image on thinner elements and oblique textures to the camera. Surprising for some, the best image stability comes from balanced, which also targets 60 FPS and a 3840 by 2160p ceiling, now using a temporal reconstruction pass, which may be Unreal Engine's own TAA solution or FSR2. Now this looks to be dynamic, or at the least reconstructed from a 2880 by 1620 to 1920 by 1080p base, which again demonstrates why pixel counts are not that important. You can see in the video that thin edges, specular highlights, light sources, volumetrics and certainly hair is far more dithered, noisy and unstable in performance mode, and even resolution mode overbalanced. This does come at the cost of the required pixel blends that soften high frequency details in textures and such, but here the trade-off is worth it, as in normal play this mode looks close to the resolution mode at a higher frame rate to not be worth the cost of dropping to 30. Now this is due to the resolution mode having great per object motion blur, but the fast locomotion and action along with input latency impact can take a while to acclimatise to. And due to the game's reliance on fast and rapid timing based combat, this is a high cost for me over the small image reduction balance costs. When it comes to performance, as I stated, these are nigh on perfect. The resolution mode is, from all my tests and almost completing the entire game, fully locked and perfectly paced 30 FPS. Running through the world, climbing buildings or fighting hulking genetic monsters, it holds a flat line on the required 33 milliseconds and thus 30 FPS readout. Likewise, the performance mode runs an equally locked 16 millisecond frame time target, giving us a locked 60 FPS. From my long sessions of play and testing, I could not find any areas that cause a deviation from that target at all, and even if they did, it would likely be single frame dips into 33 milliseconds, but this never happened during my captures. Balanced is the only mode that can fall below the desired 60 FPS rate, with it often hovering into the mid-50s during play. Now vitally though, it always keeps within the next refresh cycle of 33 milliseconds when it does, giving us a small but noticeable level of micro judder during exploring and combat. The worst case was the high 40s when heavy alpha and particle effects filled the screen, hammering bandwidth and fill rate. But these are very brief and they stay within the best mode to play in if you are impacted by these dips. Anyone with a variable refresh rate screen will have a much smoother time, as the game is often just shy of the 16 millisecond frame time required, and with a 48 to 120 Hz range the PS5 supports in its VRR mode, these dips often fall within 20 to 25 millisecond frame times and end up feeling as smooth as the performance mode, with better image quality and the best input latency, which is vital for cutting through the trouble in style. The game is big in all aspects: large levels, a vast cast of characters, enemies, locales, and hulking bosses with which to do battle. What starts as a linear combat cum exploration title opens up and out significantly. As you continue through this derelict and desolate world, you see a wide variety of beauty. From the sun-bleached beach of the start, through crumbling Greek-like cities, underwater tunnels, lush green outskirts, and the dense town of Zion, you will see some gorgeous sights throughout your playtime. Powered with Epic's Unreal Engine 4, it is an impressive looking game with strong visual, lighting, and cinematography. Character models are the highlight, with Eve herself being front and centre. From soft and fleshy skin tones, long physics-based hair, a key character trait which folds, self-collides, and moves with grace with Eve's motion. Fast and fluid animation that expands with a wide variety of moves, weapons, skills, and outfits. A girl has to look good, and work-appropriate attire be damned, and from a visual and focal perspective, Eve steals the spotlight but not the limelight. All characters have an equally high construction quality, be it Adam himself that sports shorter but equally jet black locks, soft subsurface scattering on skin, deep parallax in eyes, and a good balance of polygon count bolstered with texture and normal map details. The Prophet Oracle gives a Bible meets Blade Runner vibe, and the more you progress, the wider the variety of people you meet and greet, but the consistent high production values persist. A big reason for the human quality is many of the characters are based on digital scans of real people, from the head down to the toes, which alongside the brilliant physically based lighting and material systems used, provides a borderline photorealistic look, just with enough artistic change and ethereal design to never stray into the uncanny valley. But at times the models can be as much of a knockout as the action itself. The Naytiba enemies are equally lavish with as much effort and style, with general cannon fodder having a mutated but organic style. You have spider-like robots, mutant hermit crabs, horse meets hammerhead, and giant pyramid head fleshy bosses galore. All have an obvious ocean and land symbiosis that grounds each within the theme of destruction and rebirth of this fallen earth. The huge and powerful alphas are the standouts though, with Monkey meets Drillbit making a smashing entry that continues to expand much more. The animation and fluidity of all the enemies and physics-based motion is a big reason for the highest quality often being within gameplay. As you slash, flip, slide and topple colossi throughout the game, everything feels alive and physical as you do. Adding to the high visual punch the game delivers is the brilliant use of lights, shadows, alpha and particle effects. Whenever you block an attack, slice an enemy in two, or teleport behind a beastie, you are greeted and swamped with GPU accelerated particles, claret splats across the floor and even yourself. Enemies can also dish out the effects with liquid projectiles flying across the screen, splatting and spreading on the floor, or clouding the air with a poisonous haze temporarily. Underwater, the sense of depth and light propagation is very good, and a clear split of above and below the sea line helps make these sections atmospheric. The use of post effects is again central to the look and feel. A high quality per pixel motion blur is included and works well across the three modes. High quality sprite sample bokeh depth of field is used during gameplay and the real-time cinematics. This aids the CGI high quality these sections have, looking close to offline renders at times due to the composition and consistency. They are also used to focus your gaze on important areas or frame the shots as per standard cinematography cues, and although some of these are longer than I personally liked, it helps drive the story and character development well, in between all the butt kicking. Now, not everything is rosebuds in this garden. Again, the scale of the game and high quality it achieves can be contrasted by some weaker aspects. Textures as a whole are good, but not great, with some lower quality MIPs used on incidental objects, walls, and lacking much detail. Colour schemes can be a little too beige in some of the city sections, and the dreaded yellow painter man has run ahead of you again to reduce the Girl Scout demands on your travels. Now, although I understand the benefits this offers, it does, in my opinion, become redundant on the exploration aspect if these yellow breadcrumbs are left rather than using light design and architecture to draw you through. It's not an exclusive issue to this game, though I must say one that felt at odds with the focused art elsewhere on design cues. Animation of characters outside of action can be a little wooden and ironically robotic, with some sections having very stiff movement and limited facial expressions, which can vary from great to okay depending on the scene. Sound is also very good, but the voice acting on some scenes and over-reliance on the same combat soundbites of Eve herself can become a tad repetitive a few hours in. More variety here would go a long way. Polygon counts can also be low, with some signs of the old cross-generation base the game started with, and some sections of volumetric light and water surface effects are not always up to the same high standard. I am sure most, if not all of my niggles, as that is what they are related to team size, scope and budget, but they do not distract from a vast, enjoyable, skill-based and above all gorgeous looking game that delivers on its aims.
Wow, look at that! It's huge!
For a brand new studio, Shift Up have certainly lived up to their name. The quality, variety, scope and size on offer is exemplary for such a small studio. They've grasped and overcome the challenges of Unreal Engine and not fallen foul of any of the common streaming stutter or performance hiccups that can blight other teams. The choice of modes is not only commendable, but is almost without any complaint, as each player's choice is taken care of with a locked 30 or 60 option available and the balance for those that want the apple and the branch to go along with it. I feel this is a watershed for the new AA quality titles we can expect to see that manage to deliver on many aspects of the great visuals, physics-based gameplay, large maps and high quality, without the need to spend 6+ years in development and reduce the risk versus reward balance on the game and team's success. As a third-party PS5 exclusive, it will likely be a game that has legs far beyond the final credits rolling, offering up a visual and gameplay experience that feels like a breath of fresh air in the gaming garden. And that's it from the deep dive into game technology, video games, and all things action and slashing related. Remember, if you like what we do here on IGN Performance Reviews, then keep it IGN, and we'll catch you on the next one.